Power doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it walks in wearing a suit, talking about order, pride, and destiny. Benito Mussolini didn't seize Italy overnight. He sold it a story, a wounded nation, a promised rebirth. And by the time Italians realized the cost, their country was already marching toward disaster. This is the rise and fall of Mussolini, the man who invented modern fascism, ruled through spectacle and fear, and dragged Italy straight into the firestorm of World War II. This is the scars of a global storm fronts. And this story leaves marks. Italy, after World War I, was angry, poor and humiliated. Victory had come, but it felt hollow. Jobs were scarce. Inflation crushed families. Veterans felt betrayed. The government looked weak and divided. Into that chaos stepped Mussolini, a former socialist turned nationalist firebrand who understood something crucial. People weren't just afraid, they were desperate for certainty. Mussolini spoke fast, loud, and with confidence. He promised discipline, national pride, a return to greatness inspired by the Roman Empire. He blamed chaos on political elites and internal enemies, and people listened. By 1922, his black-shirts, paramilitary followers, dressed for intimidation, were beating opponents in the streets. Violence became a political tool. When Mussolini staged the March on Rome, it was less a revolution and more a bluff backed by threat. The king blinked. Mussolini was invited to form a government. Just like that, power was handed over. Once inside, Mussolini moved fast. He dismantled democratic checks piece by piece. Opposition parties were crushed. Independent media silenced. Elections turned into theatre. By the mid-1920s, Italy was no longer a democracy. It was a dictatorship built around one man's image. Mussolini didn't just rule. He performed posters, radio speeches, carefully staged appearances. He cultivated the image of the tireless leader who never slept, never doubted, never failed. Schools taught children to worship him. The state controlled culture, education, and thought. But behind the propaganda, cracks were already forming. Italy's economy struggled. Big infrastructure projects looked impressive but drained resources. The secret police spread fear, but fear doesn't create efficiency. It only hides problems until they explode. Mussolini wanted more than control. He wanted glory. He believed Italy needed conquest to prove itself as a great power. That belief pushed him into reckless imperial adventures in Africa and the Mediterranean. Some early successes inflated his ego. Failures were buried under propaganda. Then came the fatal alignment: Adolf Hitler. Mussolini initially saw Hitler as useful but dangerous. Over time, admiration replaced caution. Italy drifted closer to Nazi Germany, adopting racial laws and aggressive policies that were deeply unpopular at home. Mussolini tied Italy's fate to Hitler's ambitions, assuming Germany would win quickly and decisively. That assumption would destroy him. When World War II erupted, Mussolini hesitated. Italy wasn't ready. Its military was under-equipped, poorly led, and stretched thin. But when Germany surged across Europe, Mussolini feared missing out on victory spoils. He declared war in 1940. It was honestly a catastrophe. Italian forces struggled in North Africa, the Balkans, and beyond. Losses mounted. Soldiers lacked supplies. Morale collapsed. German troops repeatedly had to rescue Italian campaigns from complete failure. The myth of the strongman cracked under the weight of reality. At home, bombings intensified. Food shortages spread, public support evaporated. Even Mussolini's closest allies began to turn. By 1943, Italy was breaking. Allied forces invaded. The fascist Grand Council, once a rubber stamp, voted against Mussolini. The king ordered his arrest. After more than 20 years of absolute power, Mussolini was removed almost quietly. But the story didn't end there. German forces rescued him and installed him as the head of a puppet state in northern Italy. It was a shadow regime. No real authority, no real support, just survival. Mussolini aged rapidly, physically and mentally. The man who once dominated balconies and crowds now hid behind guards and German guns. The end came swiftly. As Allied forces advanced, Mussolini attempted to flee. He was captured by resistance fighters, executed. His body displayed publicly, a brutal symbolic end to a brutal rule. The spectacle he once mastered turned against him. Mussolini didn't fall because of one bad decision. He fell because his system was built on lies, on image over substance, on fear instead of competence. Fascism promised strength but delivered fragility. When pressure came, everything collapsed. His rise shows how quickly fear can be weaponized. His fall shows how hollow authoritarian power really is. And World War II exposed that truth to the world in the harshest way possible. For Italy, the scars ran deep. For history, the warning remains clear. Strong men rise when systems fail. They fall when reality arrives. If this deep dive sharpened your understanding of power, propaganda and collapse, make sure to subscribe to The Scars of a Global Stormfronts. Share this video with anyone who thinks history is just dates and names. It's not. It's lessons written in scars.